Hi there, folks. My name's NovaWing24, and welcome to 2018, and welcome to the first episode of the Three Grumpy Simmers for 2018. So, of course, as I am joined once again this year by my two fellow Grumpy Simmers, I'm of course joined by Sergio from helisimmer.com.
Hey guys.
And I am joined by the finger-wagging, purple hat-wearing Tomcat aficionado, Drew Belgio Bolton. How are you, mate?
You forgot the TM, the trademark.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
gonna do it this year. I need to trademark.
You need to trademark the finger waggle and the purple hat. All right. So, folks, we are back from our holiday, Christmas, whatever season that you have hiatus, and it is traditionally a period of the year where not a lot happens in the simulation world. Basically, the simulation world sort of is an absolute frenzy of activity leading up to sort of the Christmas break, sort of right up until about sort of, week or so before Christmas, and then everything goes really, really quiet till usually about March. Well, it seems that this year things took an interesting turn. Now, we are here in this particular episode because, funnily enough, it's a bit of a circle episode, this one. We've actually come back to the topic of our very first Three Grumpy Simmers episode. So, for those who've been following along at home, our first Three Grumpy Simmers episode was about Flight Sim World, the flight simulator based loosely on the ESP platform, FSX and ESP platform, and brought to us, of course, by Dovetail Games, who traditionally have always been far more at home making train simulations. Now, it had quite the difficult birth process, and it launched into early access, I think it was about 18 months ago. And it was sort of like, it was generally accepted that they had a long way to go. They had a lot of development to go through. There was a lot of code they were doing. They were making some big fundamental changes, and doing it on a fairly fast timescale as well, which was surprising many people and concerning some. But it was always the commitment from Dovetail Games that they would not leave early access until the product was ready. Last week, they left early access. So we are here to actually now discuss our thoughts as three grumpy simmers who came together over the topic of the future of Flight Sim World and flight simulation in general. And we are here talking about what that means, what this decision for Dovetail Games to actually move into what they are terming I think it's phase 2 of development, they called it on their press release. Right. But which is effectively moving it out of early access. So, as we have some fairly unique skill sets in our esteemed company here tonight, I'm gonna send to Sergio first. So from a software development point of view, well, I suppose first of all, your thoughts on it actually going out of early access. Like, do you think it's the right decision? Do you think it's the wrong decision? And then perhaps, what is your thoughts as a software developer yourself, as a coder and a software developer, on where they're at with this product at the moment?
Yeah, I think it was the wrong decision, and I think you both probably agree with me. Doesn't feel like FSW is a finished product yet. There's a lot of stuff going on the background. There's a lot of stuff missing. There's a lot of stuff not working properly. And to be honest, I was caught by surprise when they mentioned and they released to the public the fact that they were going to be releasing the final version of the product, which is not definitely a finished product. Now, from a software development point of view, it makes no sense to me whatsoever, unless, and I think we need to understand that behind all the software development process and on the software development teams, there's people that puts money on the company, the investors, guys that actually call the shots on a lot of stuff that the developers and the development team has no control over, and they want to see results. And I think that part of the results they wanted to see was the fact that the product would have to be released until a set date. And I'm going to guess that that set date has been long overdue. They probably planned on releasing a final version somewhere last year, probably on the last quarter, perhaps, something like that. and all of a sudden they had to release it so that you could say that they have reached this milestone and things were moving on the proper direction. Now this sounds like a very harsh thing for me to say, and almost like an accusation. It seems like I'm accusing the development team, but I do feel their pain, and I know where they're at with all this because I've been there. I've been working with companies in which we had to rush development of products and release something that we knew was not ready for the market, as we wanted it to be ready for the market, because we had stakeholders, people behind the company that were forcing us to, achieve this set of milestones on a provided set of dates, so that they could release more money for us to keep on developing and eventually maturing and delivering a full-blown product. So
you're essentially what you're saying is it's not so much an issue with we shouldn't be accusing the development team of something here. We should be actually looking at they're doing the best they can, but we're looking at the shadowy figures in the background, as it were, who are actually they're actually sort of driving a milestone, which I guess my question is that I get that, and having worked in the corporate, much of the corporate sector myself, but should there not be a role for the development team and the creative director Stephen Hood especially, to actually give that pushback, to actually go, no, you're asking us to develop a finished product. This is not finished yet. We need more time. Right. We need more development space.
I'm sure Steve has done it, and they have all done it, and they have all explained that the product was not quite there. But there's a point where you just have to give in, and you have to deliver. The people that actually owns the company and are your bosses, and you have to get them what. It's not what they want, but it's probably the perspective of what they want. Because I am 100% sure. I'm sure the development team is not happy about this release. I'm sure they're not happy about this release. They do their jobs, and they came out publicly and say they're very happy because of this phase 2 situation, and it's all they're very happy, and this is all very good. But I'm very sure I may be wrong, and I hope I'm not wrong, because if I'm wrong, it means that they have no clue of what they are doing, and I don't have that impression of them. I think they're very good professionals, and they do know what they are doing. So I think that in the inside, the team is not happy with how things are developing, and the fact that they are putting out their final product that it's not finished yet at all. So my guess is as good as any of you guys' guesses, but this is my perspective from the development side of things.
Okay, I guess that's one thing though, because it's like you, Sergio. I was. When I saw the email come out saying that we're proud to announce that we're moving into phase 2 of development, I sort of went, okay, cool, no way. So we're going to see, because we've noticed that for those who've been actively involved with Flight Sim World, you've noticed that we haven't seen a lot of updates in the recent past, and so when I saw that email, I was sort of going, okay, cool. So now we're going to be seeing the next slew of the major bug fixes. We're going to see the next slew of updates to the mission editors and stuff like that.
The underlying systems, right?
Exactly, yeah. But then when I read it, it was like, oh no, we're leaving early access. I literally read that 3 times before.
Yeah, I thought the same as you. Yeah,
and I was like wait, what? Yeah, what?
I thought this was a phase 2 of early access, and it would make sense to me. Were any of you guys waiting for it to be released right now? Were you
not at all,
shouting up, jumping up and down and shouting, "We want this right now"? I don't think anyone was.
No one was.
No one was asking for the final product.
We just came off the heels of Airfly FS2. IPAC's just, released into full release from early access, and they still are missing critical ingredients to the puzzle. We're in this exact same boat with a different developer now.
Yeah, I think everybody in the community finally, after some while, they finally understood what Dovetail Games was doing. You guys remember? I don't know when when it first started recording these episodes, the community was all very raged because they didn't quite understand what was happening.
Why don't
with
I
the
have my
product at Dovetail.
PMDG 747 in
Yeah,
Flight
it was-
Sim World?
Yeah,
They're
this
still
is
asking that. It hasn't changed.
Yeah. Come on, guys! You just released this yesterday, and it's in early release. I want all the aircraft right now.
Anyway,
But
yes.
the community finally understood what was happening.
Yeah.
And the stage of the development. And to be honest, I wasn't expecting FSW to be out of early access for, you said it's 6 to 12 months. I was expecting like more 12 to 24 months. If we had 2 more years of development until they wrapped it all up and said, okay, this is the final version and we're going to release this now, I would not be surprised. I would not be angry. One of the things that people asked me when we heard about Phase 2 and people were not, they didn't quite understand. Oh, it was not about Phase 2, I'm sorry. It was about a new kind of aircraft that was coming. And Drew, you were one of the first guys that were asking, "Oh, this is helicopters," and I knew you were messing with me because because I did not want helicopters to be released right now. And you know why? Because they did not have the time to do it properly. And I'm secretly hoping they will eventually contact me and some other guys to give some input, like you, Drew, to give some input and talk about and show all the helicopter part of the systems for people to actually take a look at it and give some feedback and help them make it properly. So if helicopters were out right now, I would be very disappointing unless they have a huge team of really good people behind them supporting them on the development, and things were going to be released as they should. So no, I did not want helicopter right now, just like I did not want for them to be releasing the final version of something that's not finished right now. Disappointed? Yeah. Do I understand it? Maybe. Do I blame them? No. But I would like them to be able. I would like the guys at the top to let the development team do their work the best they can. And it's not like they're going to make a lot more money because it's final. I think it's quite the opposite. I think they are going to lose a lot of the fan base because people are going to be angry. This is not a finished product. And like you said, Drew, you just lost it. You just lost the reason why things were not working, because it was not a finished product. What is it that they're going to tell us right now? This is just version 1. Is this what they want for a version 1 of the product?
Yeah, and that's.
I don't think so.
And that's a good point. And Drew, I'm going to go to you for this one. So, because moving, that was one of the things, is that, and it was sort of one of the explanations that was given, and both by Dovetail, but even more just by the community themselves and by us as well. To say, when people would say, we want all of our airplanes in there now. We want to do all the things that we could do in FSX, and we want to be able to do it in there. It was sort of like, well, it's still a work in progress. It's still a development, and we've seen some good content come in, both content from official content and user-made content from a lot of the missions, and we've sort of seen a few developers starting to reach out and actually work with Dovetail as well. Where do you feel it sits? And of course, same question as I gave to Sergio. What's actually, I think I know as well. But I think, what is your thoughts on, was the right call to bring it out of early access or not? And then what's
Sergio beat me to it.
and what's your thoughts about where the content situation sits, both in terms of official, licensed, and probably more importantly, community-made content?
Well, see, that's just the thing. When you release something to the world, it's supposed to be a finished product. All right, let's go way back. Let's go to FS9. Let's go to FSX. When those products came out, they had all the features that you would expect to use in that simulator at the time of release. Of course, they updated everything, but the updates basically consisted of, fixing whatever issues.
Bug fixes and then one DLC.
Right. One DLC, exactly. We have a situation now, and I don't know when this trend started happening, But it's, as I mentioned before, you've got, Airfly FS2, who, phenomenal platform. They're still missing some key features.
That's still an
to their
alpha.
aircraft,
It's
and
still an
now-
alpha. It's not a beta, it's an alpha.
Oh, no, no. No, it's released. It's released. That's exactly the point that we're in right now with FSW. Okay, it's released. By whose standards? It's a release in name.
You know whose standards it's released by? It's released by EA Electronic Arts' standards.
Right. That's a good way of looking at it, actually. I mean, granted, if EA
thanks for ruining flexibility,
I'm hanging on my hat, But Sergio did make a very valid point as far as the money, if you will, leaning on the developers. And a lot of the times when things start going wrong, and of course it elicits this whole backlash from the community, chances are there's a couple of suits behind with the money that are pulling the strings. I'm hoping that is the situation here. Where's my helicopters? For the people that like the tube liners, where's the jets? For those of us who love the military planes, where's my Tomcat? Okay, well, maybe not.
Phone Dino and so.
Right. But here's another critical thing. I've been yelling to anybody who will listen. One of the major features that I feel should have been part and parcel of Flight Sim World by this point, by the point of release, we'll call it. We're not going to attach a date to it.
Yeah. VR.
I've been like one of the biggest proponents of VR, aside from folks like Bambino, who's been doing it longer than I have. That is so desperately needed just to stay on par with the other Sims at this point. You've seen X-Plane come out with, the beta VR preview. It's already running smoother than most of the other things out there.
Can we? Yeah, I was going to say, if we'll go off topic just briefly, we'll tangent on that for a second. I've watched your videos on that, and seriously, I've got to give X-Plane 11 development team credit where credit's due. They bushwhacked everybody with that. Like, seriously, nobody has come out with VR that smooth at launch. Not even the DCS guys.
Yeah.
Like, that's just sickeningly smooth.
And the whole interface, the whole way of you interfacing with the sim when you are using the control, and the fact that you can walk around, you can walk around the aircraft, and you cannot walk around the whole scenery.
I'm like,
you can literally, just
as a cinematographer, I want that, but on my 2D screen because I don't have my VR sets yet. Anyway, okay, I diverse. Back to the topic at hand. Sorry.
But that is the point, though. I mean, features like that, at this point, they're no longer like a luxury or an add-on or optional. They should be standard. That's the kind of stuff that I expect to see now with my flight sim in 2018. We are in 2018. We don't have that full feature set. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the fact that the SDK is finally out, because you know what that means? That means Dan and Fly Inside can actually start doing something for Dovetail, because the two of them have, I guess you would say, butted heads over the last period of time, where because there's no SDK, they can't make that available for the community and fill in the blanks, as it were. Yeah. Dovetail really doesn't have to do anything as far as VR goes. They could just let Dan handle it, and he will do a phenomenal job, because guess who did it for FSX, P3D, and X-Plane so far? But, even though the SDK is out, and I expect we're going to see an upswing of community-driven content, it still shouldn't be the basis of your flight sim. As much as I love the P40 Warhawk, and folks, if you don't already have it, yes, get that sucker. It is a dream to fly, and the boys did a superb job on it.
And you know what they modeled really, really well, and watch for my review video coming soon. They modeled the fact that she will go nose first if you hit the brakes too hard.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
More than a few of my first taxis in this have ended up with my nose with my prop chewing the ground. That was interesting. Yep. Anyway, moving on. Yes.
But the point that I'm trying to make on that, though, is
the quality there.
This is something that's coming from the third-party developer community. It's not something that's coming from Dovetail. Yeah. Dovetail still hasn't completely fleshed out their official list of aircraft, which, let's go back to the analogy of their predecessor, FSX, FS9. What you got in FSX, FS9 was a complete suite of aircraft. The helicopters, the big jets, the little jets, the fighters, the prop planes, the GA. We need that. That is what I can constitute as a finished product. I love the mission editor and so on and so forth. I haven't had the chance to actually make my own missions, but I've done some of the other missions that other folks have created. That's all great stuff. But it's not the be-all and end-all as far as the sim goes. It's missing some key ingredients that people have been yelling about for like the last year. Until those are given to us, as far as I am concerned, it's not a finished product.
And you make a good point that we've seen as we saw the end of 2017, we started seeing that uptake from developers. I mean, we saw even Joseki Designs, their Seattle. Seriously, I'm just gonna get you to actually like do my pronunciations for that. So,
Giovetsky Design.
Even his latest version, the Seattle X, actually comes out available for FSW. It works with FSW. So we've got so pilots, their latest mesh works with FSW. It works beautifully with FSW. So we've got developers proving that all that bullshit that was raised up on the AvSim forums by certain members of the developer community claiming that it was all going to be dictatorial, you had to release on Steam or you couldn't do it and whatever, and all that kind of BS happened. It's been proven that it is complete BS, that a developer, if they want to go out on their own, they can, and it's a beautiful way to do it, and they're perfectly fine to do it, and Dovetail are perfectly happy to do it. And their products work beautifully well with the sim. So we saw that developers actually starting to take a risk on the space and actually producing that content for us, for a sim that was in progress. And we did say on our wish list for 2018 that we did sort of make our prediction that VR was going to become more and more important for our simulation space. So I definitely think that not having some form of at least, I mean, even Lockheed Martin at least did a half-ass attempt at putting VR into the platform. It's crap, but at least they tried. So
here's your participation trophy.
Thanks for coming. You participation trophy, but at least you tried. But this is the thing. As you made a point. Even for those of us who are stuck in 2D land and not using VR yet, but it's still something that I expect to see now in a feature set for a sim that comes out in the future. I really do. So, very interesting points that you make there. So, for me, I definitely think this was a huge mistake for me. I think as I alluded to before, when I saw the email, I thought, yep, cool, no worries, phase 2 of early access. And then it took me 3 goes to read it to go, hang on a minute, no, you just went out of early access. What the actual fuck? I definitely see your point, Sergio, with the fact that potentially you had some form of purse string or milestones that had dates attached to them, which is an unfortunate necessity, I think, is the way I have to look at it. I was really hoping that perhaps Dovetail, especially with their experience from Train Sim World, had actually got away from those date milestones and actually gone purely to development milestones. But again, the financial realities of the world probably are what's speaking here. And as much as the development team would have tried to actually sort of push that, and I think you're right, I think they probably did succeed in keeping it in its early access state for longer than probably some people wanted. But I think my problem is now is that they've now released a sim that is not complete, nowhere near complete, and it is now going to be compared on a level playing field with
par for par
with all your others, which are now more mature. Now, again, an interesting point. I hadn't even really thought about it until we'd started this chat, this Grumpy Simmers chat today. That you're right. Really, Aerofly FS2 is still a glorified alpha, really. Glorified, or at least a beta, because even though it's out of early access, because I'm still flying around a very brown mass of a world with Google Maps icon markers around the world. But it has its interesting parts, but it is very much still an active development because it's not finished. It's not even close to ready,
Right.
and yet it's out of early access. I suppose the counter argument could also be made that you can look at platforms like DCS, but DCS I think is an interesting one because they've essentially been in beta. They've been in beta now for what? 6 years?
At least.
I think it's 6 or 8 years they've been in beta now for.
Yeah, DCS is the ICQ of flight simulators. Remember, ICQ was always in beta.
Yes, but but that's an interesting thing though, is that I'm going to divert over to this for a second here, because for me, DCS is actually a good example of where a long beta or early access period can actually be of a huge benefit to both the public and the developer space. So yes, the sim changes. It's gone through some very fundamental changes in that period of time. I mean, hell, even in the last 2 years, it's gone through major changes.
It's still doing that. Next week we're getting 2.5.
Now, is that the great unification one?
Yes, that is the great unification. It's doing it in 2 phases. So the test version of 2.5 is going to happen this coming Wednesday, which is the 31st of January. And then supposedly a week later, maybe 2, we'll get the live client that will officially bring everything over to 2.5. So yeah, 2 phases for that. But that's just the thing, it's starting with the beta.
But this is the thing, is that they are still in beta. Like, this is version 2.5 and it's still beta. Like, they're making no secret about this, and this is what I find is interesting. And for me, as much as DCS can frustrate the ever-loving shit out of me, I think they've got this model right, with the fact that they've got a very wide developer base, as well as a strong internal development team. Perhaps not so much a strong community development space. That's fairly restricted, but that's their business decision. But they've proven that you can have a beta period that lasts for a decade, and people are still interested and still willing to put up with the issues that go with being part of an extended beta. So for me, while I appreciate the argument that yes, there are milestones, yes, there are things that people who control the purse strings for it. At the same time, I look at the DCS model and go, well, it worked for them, and I'm seeing more parallels here with EA's way of doing things, which is let's just rush something out the door and then spend the next 2 years patching it and selling content that should have been in the core game.
Now, see, I don't like using EA as a model because I don't want Dovetail Games getting the idea.
I don't want them getting that. No, exactly.
Anywhere in the sim.
Oh dear God!
I will literally flip my table if that happens.
But that's the thing, is that my concern is that it's becoming the EA style of doing things is becoming a standard model, not just in the gaming community, but it's becoming a model outside in like actual software development as well. My last role in the software, when I was the software companies we were working with, seemed to be doing that exact thing, basically pushing out stuff that wasn't ready and spending 2 years bug fixing and charging us money for it. My concern here is that that's the path we're going down with this, and it, for me, flies in the face of what they'd promised the community. Now, for me, that was a big leap of faith that both Dovetail made to the community, and the community not all of the community, but those who did sort of do the whole, okay, let's see how you go,
Let's
see
give 'em a
what you do
chance.
with this, give them a chance thing. The commitment was, from Dovetail basically was, give us a chance, give us a shot, we will only push this out when it's ready. To me, they've just burnt that bridge, and they're going to burn a lot of people and a lot of goodwill from a community that is, as the three of us and everybody watching knows, this community is very volatile and has long memories. So
We're going to have a lot of "I told you so" posts, man.
Yes,
I,
yes.
I'm surprised we haven't had a lot more. I've seen maybe a couple of them, and a
It's
lot of
been
people are going to
rather
say,
quiet. It's
I
been
yeah.
unusually quiet
I think
on
everybody's still on
community stuff.
holidays at the moment. Hasn't quite maybe not checked their emails yet. Um, but this is the thing.
I think people don't care, and I don't know if that's good or if that's bad.
That's never
But
good. That's never good.
That's
When
really
stop
bad.
caring.
Yeah. Oh, they went final.
That's
Yeah,
the
I
thing
don't
is
care.
that, you know, if they've stopped caring, that means that they've either burnt the bridge doing this decision so badly that they've just gone fuck it, whatever, and I can't even be bothered saying I told you so, or they sat on too many updates for too long. Because I mean the development cadence for a while there was insane. We were getting major updates every week, and I remember we discussed that a pace of development like that, or at least not so much development, but pace of release like that, is you're going to burn both developers and your public out.
Right.
So we've gone from this very high development cadence and release cadence to being almost nothing, the occasional bug fix, and that was it. And then suddenly we've gone from that to full release. And don't get me wrong, there's some amazing things that come into this sim already that leave everybody behind. They're talking the quality of the content that's in the core sim. I mean, you don't even get that quality of some of that quality from PMDG and A2A. And this is the core stuff that's built into the sim that comes free. It's not like you're paying $90 or $150 an aircraft for this. Like, this is included.
Right. Yeah.
The quality of the weather, the weather effects and the graphical effects that came with True Sky, and the HDR lighting and the PBR lighting. I mean, as much as even I'm like enjoying X-Plane, it's crapping all over X-Plane. And
it's so good it makes me want to cry. That's why they need VR. You have not lived until you throw your aircraft underneath the cumulonimbus top and the cockpit gets dark. This is why they need it. They have True Sky. They have to get it. Oh!
We've broken. There he goes. He's out. But yeah, they've made all this. They've all made all this positive, all these great leaps forward. And then they can't even get a fucking landing light to work. What the fuck? Now that
they're on back order. They're on back order. That's all I can say.
What shits me the most about it, though, is the fact that we know that at least part of the lighting system is implemented. Because, okay, I'll be honest, from reading all the I told you so posts, the biggest one was always, why is the lighting still not fucking fixed? Like, that was the biggest one that came up in all the I told you so posts, was the lighting still not fixed. Now, the lighting's been an issue since flight school. Since before Flight School was released. Now, the worst thing about it is that I know that if you actually look at your aircraft at night, you can see the light doing the PBR reflections across the aircraft's skin. So we know the lighting model is at least partially implemented. They just can't get the landing lights or anything to work on the scenery. So I don't know what the development is, but seriously, going from early access to release without a lighting system, when you're now playing in the same space as X-Plane 11 with full HDR PBR lighting for both aircraft and scenery, full dynamic lighting, full dynamic reflections, full dynamic shadows, you're now playing in the same space as prepared version 4 with full dynamic lighting, HDR, PBR lighting, PBR's, well, partial kind of PBR support. It's kind of not really, but it is. Anyway, dynamic shadows, dynamic lighting on scenery. You know, you've got that. You're playing in that space. You're playing in the space with DCS with the full dynamic lighting. You're playing in the same space as Aerofly, which has kind of, it's got good lighting during the day, but the night stuff's still a bit rough. It's just, yeah, it's a...
Don't fly at night. Don't fly at night.
I was going to say, last time I flew it at night, it was not bad again. So again, this is making me, this is concerning me, because we're now getting this space where we've got these simulators here that are done, and yet there's trying to compete against some of these simulators that aren't. And the community really was expecting from Dovetail's own commitment that they were going to be one of the ones that can. So for me, again, to round out for me, it's the decision, a choice that for me is an incredibly bad idea. Burning.
But hey, what's done is done.
Yeah, true.
Now,
but that's the thing.
How do you fix it?
Exactly. How do you fix it? What do you do? How do you fix it? So, on that, we know that Dovetail have confirmed that yes, they are releasing a jet of some description. Is the next major release. We know that, but we don't know what exactly it is. So it will be. We shall wait with bated breath what it is. But yeah, we do know there is a jet coming. So that will at least appease some people. Can I just throw a shout out to the developers for one thing though that even I must say X-Plane doesn't do very well with its. Sorry, Drew, I'm going to have to hand over to you. What sort of theory is the fundamental thing behind X-Plane?
I wasn't expecting a pop quiz. What
was it? What was it? Element blade theory? Was it?
Blade element theory?
Yes.
Is that what you're referring
yeah, that's
to?
It. That's it.
Blade element theory. Ding ding ding.
Sorry. Anyway. So even okay. So just for those who have or haven't tried, if you do have your copy of Flight Sim World, try and simulate a outer wing stall. Or a single wing stalling. It can be a challenge scenario to enter, and it's a very difficult scenario to enter for actual pilots and to recover from. Flight Sim World actually models that, and as far as I know, it is the only simulator that actually models a single wing stall at this time. So I have to say to them, for that one alone, they've done really, really well. So, as I said, there's a lot of good things that they've done, but my concern is they've burned a lot of bridges doing what they've done, and I am concerned for where we're heading next. So, as you said, Drew, what's done is done. So the question is, how do we move forward? We know that they are releasing to a jet in the near future, hopefully, and we anticipate seeing that with the same quality of aircraft that we've seen from the aircraft already in there. So we shall have to see what comes first. So I guess that's I was going to say the pretty much the end of it. But yes, Sergio, for you.
Let me just express a concern I have about this, and this is a concern I have if my theory is correct about having the guys on the top layer, getting you to release the sim as a final product because they had to, which is if they managed for some reason to postpone this release until now and things are not finished and they had to do it, what's next? What is it going to be cut next? What shortcuts are they going to take? For the guys at the top layer, for the suits, like I said, for the suits to be happy and keep on investing on the product, because this is not a train simulator. This is not something that, as opposed to some sims that are on rails.
I see what you did. That was good.
Thank you.
Well played.
Well
played.
Like some other sims, and I'm talking specifically about the train simulator. Yeah. This is not a train simulator when you have just objects going through rails and a little bit of scenery, and the weather does not have any kind of influence that I know of on the simulation itself. And this is a whole new world that has to be simulated. And you have the weather engine, and you have a lot. They have a lot of stuff to be working on. And my concern is, do the guys that are in charge of Dovetail and are in charge of getting the team to do what they believe it's the best for the company, do they have the notion and do they have the perception of the amount of work needed to be able to put a sim out there that, like you said, it's on the same level as all the other ones? Because if they actually, and I truly believe they did it, if they forced the team to go out and say, okay, this is the final release, this is our finished product, I'm very concerned about what's coming next and what they're going to start cutting down and what shortcuts they're going to have to take to keep these guys happy, because they have put a lot of money into the product, and all of a sudden they want to see some return of the investment.
Result. Yeah, return on investment.
Right.
Yeah, and
and that's just the thing. Yeah, usually those kinds of people that we're talking about, the executive types or the money bags, if you want to call them that, they're also not simmers usually. So they're not in tune with what the audience wants. They just know we need to keep the shareholders happy. That's generally a bad combination, because now all of a sudden you've got the artist beholden to the manager, and just coming from a musical world, like having been a musician for so many years, it never ends well. Yeah. It never ends well when you got to deal with record producers, okay?
and that's kind of the situation with what you're dealing with now.
Yeah.
So there you go. So, well, I think that that wraps up the episode. That I think we can we've all agreed that we are all very grumpy with the fact that Dovetail's made the decision. We're very grumpy about it, but we shall watch with very interested, watchful eyes about what will happen next for that one. But I'm going to do one quick shout out. Bill Gates, if you happen to be watching, I know you're passionate about aviation and simulation. Can you please throw money at Dovetail to make sure that we can actually have a new sim again, please? Thanks. That would be awesome. Anyway, so on that...
I hear he's a philanthropist.
Exactly. Yeah. So on that plea for help, I'm going to say thank you very much. We're going to wrap up this episode. So I'm going to say thank you very much, Sergio, for joining us today.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Thank you very much to Mr. Drew Belgio Bolton.
Okay.
And
right,
folks,
thanks.
my name's Ben Tristan, Wing24 here. So thank you very much for joining us on this first episode of the Three Grumpy Simmers. And yes, we were very grumpy today. And we will catch you all on the next episode. Don't forget, as always, folks, to head over to helisimmer.com and head over to Belgio's channel to check out some of the great VR stuff that he does. And folks, of course, as always, tune on to my channel and all the things that I do and the wanderings that I do. All right, folks, thanks very much for joining us. Take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Yeah.
Ciao.